What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the third edition of the Solutions University as part of the five-part video series we've been doing. And today's topic is going to be white privilege. And before we get started, I'd like to define it. The Oxford definition defines it as inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequality and injustice. So, based on that definition, just my rundown, um, I just don't believe right now there's anything inherently advantageous of being white here in America. Reason I say that is because not every white person was born here, and not every black person was born here. And there's foreign white people that come here that don't succeed or succeed better than the native born. There's also foreign black people that come here and they succeed at a higher rate than the native born black people. So therefore, to allow that to create causation for the disparity that we do see or inequality we see within America today just does not add up. So yeah, but yeah, that's my definition. What I believe, I just don't believe it's anything. It's not important. We could talk about it, or we could talk about the things that really affect every minority community. That's more it's more crucial. But yeah, I'm gonna pass it down to we go with Kate this time. What you think about white privilege, Kate? What does it mean to you?
Personally, I don't really think there is white privilege. I think there is wealth privilege. I think that there is a big misconception between ethnicity affecting what you are able to do in this nation. I have absolutely no doubt in my mind. People have money to make things happen. They have ways to get through life easier. But I do not believe that because a person is born white, that the universe then decides your life is going to be easier. Like people in poverty, I think people forget that trailer parks are the equivalent to the ghetto. Like they both exist. So the mindset that someone's born white, so now they're going to be living in the suburbs in some gated community is ignorant. I don't think personally that it exists. That's just me.
Cool. We'll go with Greg. What you think, Greg? What's your definition?
Well, I think it's and from my perspective, I think it's a false attack made through a need to blame white-skinned people for something that an individual is falling short of. It's too easy to blame me for something that person has failed to accomplish in their lives. It's a tribal mentality type of atmosphere. Society as a whole, it's natural to the human species to develop a tribal mindset, and in our case here in the United States right now, it's a huge leftist push to victimize the minorities in America, and so for me, I just that's the feeling I get all the time is that I'm being targeted, that I got a job because I'm white, which is totally wrong. But anyway, there's so much that I want to cover, but that's my definition. I think it's a false, made-up narrative to blame somebody to cover up the weakness that an individual might have.
Gotcha. For them shortcomings. Yeah. What you think, Sean? What about you, my man?
Well, like the rest of you, I believe it is a unicorn, a mythological creature. As in, it doesn't exist. It's not real. It has absolutely, in my opinion, nothing to do with the color of your skin. Nobody has any type of stuff. And one of the things we're going to get is a lot of people pointed out silver spoon in their mouth, or they're going to be born and they're going to live in the suburbs. They're going to have money. And, one of the things I know we're going to get is, no, it's not that. White people don't fear that the cops are going to kill them. Okay. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that there are a lot of white people that are afraid when a cop looks at them. It's more about who you are as a person. If you know you're doing something wrong and the cops look at you, you know you're gonna go in trouble. Anybody ever watched the show Cops? Most of it was in Tacoma, Washington, and it's a bunch of white people, meth heads, running from the cops, getting tased, getting tackled, getting beat. So I think it's like in the Army, knife hand. Reason we do the knife hand, right, is because we're trying to put blame. We're putting blame on private, even though we're the leader. And there's none of these fingers pointing back at you. So I think it's just an excuse to pass off your own inadequacies, and it's easier to look outside your house and point a finger at someone else for whatever reason than it is to take a look inside and be like, maybe I fell short. So I don't think it exists. So it shouldn't have a definition because it's not a real thing. You can't prove it. So I don't even know why Oxford has a definition for a word of something that doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's weird. But yeah, it's just one of those things that when we're thinking about it, man, what perpetual excuse can we give to allow people to get off for not doing what they have to do to succeed in life? I always tell people, they say America is the land of the opportunity. I said, to me, they should rephrase it as America is the land to create opportunity. Because if you don't create something, even though you have the opportunity, it's not gonna go anywhere. So you have the freedom to create opportunity. So that means you got to work for it. You know what I'm saying? It's just not gonna fall in your lap. But you gotta get out there and get it. And the reason why you gotta get out there and get it, because you got other people trying to get it too. So it's gonna tell you that you have to get it even harder. But
actually, Topher, real quick, you hit something I just want to double back on just to prove the point. Is that, you're right. Minority immigrants, as far as like, for instance, we'll say blacks that immigrate from Africa. You know how many of them are like doctors?
Yeah.
And it's because they came from somewhere where even as a doctor, they weren't well off. They're struggling over there. There's actual oppression, and it's just hard at life in general. Then they come here and they work hard, and despite their skin color, they are extremely successful.
Right. So I 100% agree. I think it's easy to see when you stand back and look at the big picture of a narrative being pushed. One of the things that I can't stand, and I've even heard a couple of you say this, but this is coming from the white guy's perspective, right? Is the term people of color. You know what? White's a goddamn color. And it bugs the hell out of me, because that automatically creates a division. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And people are people, and I know you all know this, that personality differences of a human being goes across the entire spectrum, has no bearing on the pigmentation of your skin. So when terminology in society is just automatically dividing people, it's a problem, and it creates that trigger of victimization and so on and so forth. So I cannot stand that term people of color, because we're all colors.
That and hyphenations, I hate it. Like say Topher, like my buddy, he's from Jamaica, right? But like everyone's gonna look at him and go, African American, he's African American. No, he's not. He's from Jamaica. He's not from Africa. And by the way, there's no African Frenchman, no African Brit, there's no African Chinaman. We are the only country that literally segregates ourselves into small groups of people and cliques. Like they talk about the ghettos and how those originated was they took people like Irish people and shoved them in a neighborhood, all of them together. They took black people and shoved them in a neighborhood all together. And we just continue to perpetuate that by segregating ourselves right off the gate.
Amen.
Anyway, we're way off the topic now.
No, you're right on topic. Only reason, because I was gonna go right into the reason why I hate person of color, because what's the difference between person of color and a colored person? Like, you can't go out and say there's a colored person, then you look at it as racist. Or you can go out there and say there's a person of color and it's accepted. I'm like, okay. It's just one of those things you're like, I don't know how this works, but okay, whatever. But yeah, and I hate that because it likes to, like you said, it's strategically meant to exclude white people. And And I like how they use person of color when they refer to a black person. It's like, no, this is a black unique experience. Don't be lumping our experience in with Hispanic people or Asian or anybody else. You know, even white people have unique experiences. It's like, don't do that. And I feel like they do that because they know they're kind of losing the black vote. So they gotta increase their base. In order to do that, they gotta use more generalization or general language in order to do so. But I know you asked earlier, like who came up with the name. But I want to bring it up. It was the scholar back in 1989. She wrote an essay. It was a gender scholar, by the way. Her name was Peggy McIntosh, and she wrote like 50 things that she considered to be part of white privilege, and one of those was finding a Band-Aid that matches your skin color. That was part of the reasons why she said white privilege exists. I just want you to know that, like, it was based on stuff like that. Like going to the store and finding makeup that match your skin is what they consider white privilege. And it's just like, okay. Very snowflakey stuff. But anyway, second question is white privilege more or less prevalent today? It's a fairly new term. And because like I said, it just came out in 1989. But it's used broadly today. Do you think there's more white privilege today compared to back in the day? Or what's your thoughts? I'm going to you, Kate.
I was listening to the question. I was like, yes, and then I was like, no. Do I think the term is used more today? Absolutely. Do I think there's more of it today? No. I think that no one really wants to talk about the side of white privilege of you are literally entering the world with in no way being able to say that you are struggling, that you suffer, that you have hard time in life. Like that, to me, that isn't a privilege. Like if I'm a white person, I genuinely am struggling with something, to have someone say, well, that's impossible. Why? Because you're white. Like, I don't view that as a privilege. So I think that it is in pertaining to when this word came out, yes, was there segregation? Yes. Was there discrimination? Absolutely. That did in fact happen. However, I feel like people act as if we are still being treated the same way that we were during MLK's time period. And that's just not the case. That's just not accurate. So, you know, do we have all white and all black fountains to drink from? No, we're not. And if we get down to being the simplicity of her saying, oh, well, it's a matter of being able to find a Band-Aid in my skin color. It's a matter of makeup being able to be found in my skin color. Let's drop down to that simplicity. You can buy Band-Aids in our color now. You can find makeup in hundreds of shades now. And on top of that, you know, we're actually moving backwards with this want for all black zones and people talking about creating all black dorms again. And I'm kind of sitting here like, I'm a little—
The NFL.
Yeah, like exactly.
The anthem.
Exactly. You want your own anthem. I'm confused. You either want all inclusivity, you either want a level playing ground for everyone, in which case you have to then acknowledge the white community. And that's what I think it is. I don't think it has anything to do with actually being against inclusivity. I think it has to do with the fact that they realize that if they actually practice inclusivity and equality, that means that they can no longer throw hate towards the white community. And that concept of no longer being able to look at white people and say, or having to look and say, you're equal to me, freaks a lot of people out. And they're more uncomfortable with doing that than they are saying, oh, we're actually attaining what we want. Well, this is awkward, you know? So like, it's just, yeah. So anyway, that's my rant.
Oh, Kate got me pumped now.
Oh, well, since you pumped, I'm gonna go ahead and go to you, Sean. Go ahead and tag team.
So, same idea, separate way with that is, it's not so much of the wait a minute, we're getting what we want type thing. It's the, wait a minute, we're equal. We're all the same. Everything is level. So this is my fault. This is my fault. Oh, and like a black anthem. That is the stupidest shit I have ever heard in my life. You are not a fucking nation. If you would like to, I will show you the fucking door, and you can go make a nation, and you can have your own anthem. But you can't sit there and say, I want a black anthem. And you know what really upsets me kind of? And man, I'm not gonna catch some hating comments for this one. It's like, do you hear Hispanic people in the streets rioting and crazy? We don't even got a hero in the Marvel universe, man. You know what I'm saying? Do you hear us crying about Disney? You didn't make enough movies with us in it? No. In fact, we get this stupid idiot from prison in Ant-Man who's just like dumb.
He's amazing though. I'm just saying he's kind of amazing. Carry on. I get it. Yes.
But like, that's my point. You know what I mean? They talk about, yeah, you only get a job as a token black guy. Have you seen what the Hispanic acting was like at the same time period? But do you see anyone crying about it? No, you want me to go act stupid on camera and you're gonna pay me? I'll do it. I don't give a shit. It's like it's literally, unfortunately, and I hate to say it because it kind of sounds racist in its own thing, but it is like a black thing. Blacks want an anthem. Blacks want to go out there. Like, do you not think that in Chicago, Hispanics are getting mowed down at almost the exact same rate you are?
Right.
But nobody's crying. And I made a joke about it. I saw it. Like, if a cop shot a Hispanic guy, his mom would go out there and be like, shoot him again so he learns a lesson. And then she will whoop your butt and tell them to take you to jail so you don't do it again. Like, and that's the difference. It's like, at least, you know, I don't know. But white privilege things is like, is it as prevalent today for something that I think doesn't exist? No, it's not. The term gets thrown around, but to be honest with you, so what is it that they say is the privilege? That they don't think the cops are going to shoot them? Okay, well, guess what? I'm Hispanic, and they're like, wait a minute, you're Hispanic, and you're left-handed, and you play the saxophone. Holy cow, did we have a college scholarship for you, buddy, just for that. Like, so, okay, he's not worried about the cops. You're not worried about paying for college. You know how many scholarships, how much more opportunity that poor minorities have to go to school for free than white people?
Yep.
You know how rich you have to be for mommy and daddy as a white person to pay for your entire college education for you? It's not just the middle class, upper middle class, or well-off people. You know what I mean? Those white people have to take out Sallie Mae loans. It's like the super rich. So there's advantages to everything, and they just like to nitpick on white people. And that really upsets me because, to be honest with you, the most hated person in the United States is a white, straight
Male.
man. And that's hands down. And you want to talk about black people going, are you getting, well, are they shooting black people just for or white people just for the color of their skin? No, but there's a lot of black people out there beating a lot of white people just because of the color of their skin right now.
That's true.
Guarantee it.
Yeah, that was good. What about you, Greg?
Mine's short because I agree with everything that you all just said. So I think it's a perceived prevalence. In other words, you know, again, a strategic narrative that keeps being pushed by some elitists out there, knowing that if society stays divided, then the Democrats have the power that they need, or whether socialists or whoever the elitists are. You know what I mean? But I think and it's not a foil hat wearing conspiracy. It is a fact that these narratives are created and they're pushed, and true news reports of things that are happening naturally to everybody, no matter what color it is being ignored because that's not the sensation that the powers to be are after. You know what I mean? So I think it's a perceived prevalency, and because of that, the outcome of that is more tribal mentality of, hey, it's us against them. Now let's go get them. Let's forget about who pushed us into the situation. Let's just go get them over there, you know, or stay away from them, whatever the case may be. So I think it's a perceived prevalence.
You can tell who the infantryman in the room is.
Yeah, so my thing with this is, yeah, it does not exist. And like you said, we use it a lot. It's just one of those things, like, why you keep saying that? I don't think that word means what you think it means. You know, just I hear you saying it, but it doesn't, you know. So, yeah, when we talk about white privilege, I think what's more telling about it is the fact that, like you was talking about, Greg, I feel that we say it in order to justify funds. I feel like we say it in order to justify raising money. we have gotten to the point where we, you know, I hate to say it, but monetize death. I mean, I think Black Lives Matter has raised over $100 million off just one person. It don't take that amount of money for nothing. Matter of fact, why didn't they raise that money and give it to the person that he used to, the woman that he
Exactly.
went and offended, and you know he went to jail for the first time. They held a gunpoint the pregnant lady. Are they giving her in that money? We're gonna give it to Greg Floyd and his family, which is not going to his family, which is going to the race baiters like, you know, Al Sharpton and those people. Like it's crazy to me. It's just a big money funneling system, and they're gonna keep
It's going back in the Democratic Party too.
back.
Read the fine print
Every
if
bit
you
of
want
it.
to donate to BLM. It literally says in the fine print in there that your funds can be allocated to fund Democratic candidate campaigns.
Yeah, if you don't claim, if you don't tell where it goes or claim it within the next 60 days, something like that, within 30, 60 days. But yeah, it's crazy. And I'm just looking at this like, y'all don't see the play? Like, not only the top 20 most dangerous, well, out of the top 20 most dangerous cities in America, 17 of them are Democrat.
And
Exactly.
that's my point. Like when you said like you guys don't see the play, like that's where I'm just like, does nobody get this is why this is never gonna end. It's not a matter, these people aren't dumb. Like I know some people but like there's only so much that you don't understand. And at this point, it's no longer, oh well, no, I just don't. No, you are choosing not to see it. This is blatant. Oh no, I'm ignoring it. And when we were talking about monetizing off of death, like it's not just Black people monetizing off of death either. There was the girl that C. Jane, or the Harvard student that got fired from her job. Okay, people have started a GoFundMe for her because she stood for Black Lives Matter. People are literally being handed free money simply for saying racist stuff. Like that's the part that's terrifying to me, is that I'm like, y'all really try to make this like a career. Like, hey, if you decide to be a racist, guess what? Not only will hardworking Americans give you money for free, but then they will idolize you to the overall community. And then we will instill cancel culture and go harass the companies that decided to fire you for simply stating that you're not going to be a good representation of their company for being racist. I also think it's really interesting that the whole concept as a whole of white privilege is the generalization of an entire racial stereotype. Yet the thing that we fight against the most in the Black community is being generalized by a racial stereotype. And nobody wants to talk about that. Like,
Nobody wants to talk about that.
By the way, you know, like the whole concept of we're fighting against police brutality. Oh, well, police generalize, you know, Black people. And there's this stereotype that, you know, we have these, you know, single baby mamas and we all like watermelon and we all drink Hennessy and all this different stuff. Like, and we only listen to rap music. Like, these are the stereotypes in which we are fighting against. Yet white privilege is the literal blatant use of I am now blanketing the entire white community that you all live the same way, that you all have the same life experience, and that you have everything handed to you.
You know, I think that takes me back to Muhammad Ali when he was talking. I forgot who he was talking to, but he talked about the snakes. He was like, "Do you hate all white people? Why would you hate all white people like that?" He said, "Well, if I see a bunch of snakes, am I going to take the time and figure out which one's going to bite me, or do I just avoid all the snakes?" I think they're taking that poisonous and toxic mentality and using that to hate all white people, and I'm just like, that never works. And it's not even an efficient way to do anything, even militarily. Like, if we just pointed everybody as targets, then, you know, we probably could never do a mission. They don't know how far we got to go to even confirm something before we can execute anything. And I think we need to do the same due diligence when we're talking about true racism, because when you don't do that, you end up missing the target completely. And then you create a whole nother issue that's what was separate from the original issue, and you don't even get to the source of the issue. But let's see here. Next question is, have you experienced white privilege personally? Have you seen white privilege in action? I have never. I personally haven't seen white privilege in action. I will say the one time I feel like I may have been like, because I'm Black, I was riding with my boys in the car. It was like 4 of us. I think we was coming back from like McDonald's after football practice or something. And I was coming down the highway, you know, we was going like the speed limit, pushing it a little bit. And we had all the windows rolled down. I get home, my mom tells me, "Boy, what you were doing?" I said, "What you talking about?" She said, "Someone called me and said my car was stolen." I said, "What?" So I guess they assumed because a bunch of Black guys with windows rolling down, talking about it looked like the windows had been busted out. I'm like, because the windows down. So I don't know who did that. Someone literally took the time to watch my license plates just to call and report a car stolen. We're riding down the highway with windows down. I guess a car full of black people. I don't know who it was to this day. That was my only experience with anything, right? I guess driving while black is a thing. But my thing is, other than that, I haven't seen it. I haven't seen it on my workplace. I have a job which is very, very performance based, and I'm in higher positions. I get hired than any other white person we done hired. And that's why I tell people a lot of times, if you just do the work, I mean, you good. If you just stay out of trouble. Like, if I'm not hanging with drug dealers, the chances of me, getting hit with a no-knock warrant is like 0. I don't do none of that stuff, man. I stay to myself. I obey the law. I'm courteous when I'm interacting with the police officers. And some people brought up the fact that, when you go to the store, the clerk don't start following you around the store. I said, let's think about this for a second. Why do you think they're following you around the store? Because I'm black. It's like, maybe because a majority of the crime committed in that store is by people that look like you. You ever thought about that? It's not because you're black. It's because people that look like you are the prime suspects when it comes to these crimes. So they're going to keep an eye. Like, for instance, if I'm walking around a store and the number one people that be in that store are young black males, and I look like a young black male walking in the store, of course, you're going to be a little bit more eyes on. That's not white privilege. That's common sense. It's like, keep an eye on these people because we need to know what they're going to do. I don't feel offended because all I'm going to do is do my thing. And sometimes I just take advantage of it. It's like, man, I never had nobody walk around. Look, I got all these questions. Can you ask these questions for me? While you're watching me, yeah, can you do this? Can you do that? So to me, I'm just like, it's almost like you got your own personal clerk. So you might as well go ahead and interact with them. But yeah, people take that and like instantaneously, you saw how I just turned that into a common sense thing. They would have took that as a victim thing and just been like, oh man, because I'm black and you think I ain't got no money and all this and the system against me. It's like, come on, man. That ain't what it is. You don't even know the big picture. And that's my thing. I'm all about the big picture. And when you start owning businesses, you start realizing why people have walls. You start realizing why people got cameras. You start realizing why people hate high taxes. You start realizing why this and that. So, but you start realizing why Obamacare was horrible. All these things you don't know because you haven't experienced or been in that part of life. But yeah, so personally, I have not experienced a white privilege. Even today, I haven't experienced white privilege. So it's hard for me to believe in this, like Sean said earlier, this mythical ghost or beast or something. It's like I just don't see it.
Mythical creature.
It's kind of, and I think what you said about, it's a matter of your work ethic. First of all, me personally, especially when it comes to the workforce, I think everyone always talks about work opportunity. Oh, well, I don't have the same work opportunity as you. Okay, first of all, most companies actually are required to keep a certain level of diversity in their workspace. So me being an African-American female walking in to apply for a job, I'm helping them out. Like, I'm helping them meet that quota. So in a way, I actually have a better chance of getting hired than the white guy next to me because they need to meet that diversity quota. So there's that. Secondly, which I personally kind of think is a privilege above other people, you know what I mean? And then on the concept of, when people are talking about, you mentioned something about the people walking through the store. Sorry, I had a thought process and I was on it and then it just disappeared. But besides the point, yes, I do entirely think that it's a matter of work ethic. I think it's a matter of how much you decide to apply yourself. And the ideology that we don't have the same amount of opportunity even outside the workspace. King Face did a video on this and it was so so well put together. He was having a conversation with someone who was stating the same thing. Like, there's no way for us to be entrepreneurs because we just don't have those outlets. And he said, let me ask you something, okay? How many of you in this room have gone out and spent the same $200 that you do on a new pair of Jordans on an online class, on something that's actually progressing your future? And he's like, it's not a problem of opportunity, it's a problem of priority. And when you put your time towards superficial imagery things,
with that same amount of money, if you really wanted something bad enough, if you genuinely wanted that future for yourself, you'd be matching that same energy and finances towards something pushing you forward. But if you choose not to do that, it's not going to happen. So we have this mentality that it's like, oh, well, it should just occur. You know, like people see white people and they're like, oh, that just happened for them. I'm like, you guys don't see the same amount of hours, or they're not going to bed till 3 or 4 in the morning, sleeping for 2 hours, and then putting that grind in again. That doesn't just happen for people. And even people that are born into money, how are you going to hate on something that someone couldn't control? Like, you can't be mad at someone for being born into finances. That's what everyone thinks about Donald Trump is. Oh, well, he was born into money. Okay. And what did he do with that? He didn't just, I mean, granted, he had some mistakes. He went bankrupt a few times. He learned through his mistakes. But at the same time, you can't be mad at the man for being born into the family that he was. If I had money and I had kids, I want to give them the best life that I can. I don't want to see them fail. I want to help them succeed.
Exactly right.
Work ethic. But why would I want them to struggle like I did? You know what I mean? But you can still teach that work ethic while also helping them along in life. So I don't know. I personally have not experienced white privilege. In fact, I've seen the complete opposite. Like my mom, who's Caucasian, has been told blatantly that she did not have the right to adopt me because of the fact that she's a white woman and that she would not be able to give me the right culture. So like I've seen the complete opposite of the benefit of white privilege in my day-to-day life.
So
it's a matter of wanting it bad enough.
So Topher and Kate both had great points. So let me ask you this: like, I would challenge anybody that's black that watches this, right? Go walk in that store and dress like a thug, and watch them follow you. Then leave. Wait a couple weeks. Go into a different store in a suit and tie, and see if they follow you. Is it the color of your skin, or is it that you look like the guy that robbed them last week?
Presentation.
That brings me back to the thing that it is not a race thing. It is a culture thing.
Yeah.
We as minority groups here, I know Greg hates the term people of color. I got it right. But, and white guys too, it isn't a color thing. Who want to emulate gangster rappers, who want to emulate convicted felons. You know, that's why you are judged the way you are. I don't get pulled over because I rock Wrangler, I drive a pickup truck, and I'm super fucking American. Cops don't pull me over. But when I was 18 years old, my Uncle Scott, he's a white dude. He was a lawyer for Pepsi. He had a brand new BMW. I house sat for him and he was like, I'll let you drive the Beamer. I had a razor fade and graphics, a big ass chain, all blinged out, watch so big, it probably weighed my arm down. I drove that car for 30 minutes before I got pulled over. I said, it's my uncle's car. He let me borrow it, and I got arrested. And I got arrested for stealing a car. They called the owner, who they didn't believe was my uncle. And he's like, no, I'll let him drive it. But so I guarantee you, had I been driving that car today, I wouldn't get pulled over. But I look like a guy who shouldn't have a BMW unless I'm selling drugs. And that's why I got pulled over. Not because of the color of my skin, because of how I dressed and how I looked. So it is much more a culture thing, I think, than it is a race thing. And you see white dudes like Paul Wall, who could be doing the same thing as a kid and going to get pulled over. Why? Because he's got a grill, a ball fade and graphics, and a platinum chain with diamonds in it. And that's why he's going to get pulled over, and he's white. It is a culture thing.
Without a doubt.
And that was on Topher's thing.
And just to throw in there too is applications or a work interview. You go into a work interview and you're talking like, hey man, you know what I mean, man? You know, hey, I'm good at that, man. You know, hey, you're not going to get hired at that interview. I mean, I probably wouldn't get hired at an interview if it was for my enunciation in my language because I stutter so much. But if you go in there and acting like a thug, I don't care what skin color you are. You could be white, black, Latino, or whoever. If you act like a thug, if you dress like a thug, you don't take a professional, you're not going to get hired. But those same exact individuals, because of the perceived prevalence of white privilege out there, it's like, bang, it's a cult, right? It's just drove in your head. That's the excuse. It's not because I dress like a thug. It's not because I act like a thug. It's because I'm not white, and that's why they didn't hire me. That's the excuse I'm going to use, and I'm going to go tell everybody else that's why. You know, it's just a cult mentality.
And you know what's really fascinating about that too, going off of what both Greg and Sean have said about presentation and that kind of stuff, it's a vicious cycle, because if you go and look at really successful African Americans, people that come off that way in that very professional way, those are the same African Americans that are being called sellouts. Those are the same ones being called coons. Those are the same ones being told she's trying to be white, or he's trying to be white, or he sold out to the white man. Why is it that the Black community has a tendency to demonize the image of successful Black people? You know, like, unless you're Oprah, or unless your success has come from basketball or football or the rap game, it's as if you've sold out, which people don't seem to understand. There are so many other professions for us to go into. Now, granted, Ben Carson, when he was, you know, part of this presidential thing, I mean, he's a very intelligent man. He's got a lot of great insight and whatnot. But I think that was the first time in a long time that I've seen the Black community even slightly listen. And even then, he still had people coming at him saying, oh, he's a sellout, you know? But like, at the same time, I think that was the first time that I saw Black people perk their ears to say, oh, wow, okay, like, he's not in any stereotypical field that a Black person should be successful in, but he seems to have some intellect. So it's almost as if there is a fear more than anything of intellectual Black people. It's so, like this terrible marker.
It's Black people and Hispanic people, because I get all the time whitewashed and all kinds of shit. And I was like, why? Because I enunciate, motherfucker. I'm sorry. All right, I'm definitely the instrument here. I'm not as eloquently spoken as others. But the thing is it's exactly right, though, is thanks for stealing my point, Kate.
You're welcome.
Is that if you speak like you have an education, if you speak and you enter into an interview professionally, right, and you sound like you have an education, then hey, why are you trying to talk white, man? Why are you trying to be white? You are literally saying that to be educated and to be able to properly speak English, you are not Black. You are not Hispanic. You're putting yourself, you like, people tell me they're whitewashed. Why? Why do you talk like that? I don't know. Why are you saying that all Hispanic people are stupid?
Right.
Because that's what you're saying when you make that statement. And it really irritates me when people say that, because it's like, are we not allowed to have an education? Are we not allowed to be professional? Are we not allowed to want success? And it goes back to the differences, is that, you know, you can't embrace that culture and live that culture. Like, you can't want to be a gangster rapper and not go be a gangster rapper.
Yeah.
You can't want to act and look and talk and everything and live the life of a gangster rapper, but want to go be an accountant. Because it's just not going to work. Why don't you go be an accountant? You know, go emulate an accountant. Go find somebody. And then the other thing was, my last point was, Kate, was to double on what you said, was you're talking about people being mad at Trump for being born into money, or being mad at white people for being born into money. I just want to say right now, do you think that LeBron James kids aren't born into money? Do you think that T.I. ain't going to help his kids? T.I. kids suck at rapping. And I watched that show with T.I. and he's putting his kids up in the studio. Just because they're his kids, they going in the studio and getting signed, and they suck.
Right.
So don't tell me, you know what I mean? Like, and ain't nobody mad at T.I.'s kids. Nobody's mad at T.I.'s kids. Nobody's going to be mad at LeBron's kids. Nobody's going to be mad at any of their kids. But let you be white and be born into money.
And you got a problem.
Yeah.
It's just an asinine double standard. And that's the thing. Again, it goes back to, I don't want to do the work. I don't want to do this. I don't want to do that. You know, if I wanted to be, you know, this big media producer, something like that, and, you know, I might emulate somebody who's in that field. And it doesn't mean that they're a thug. You know, if I want to be the president of the United States, well, you know, you're not going to be able to see my underwear the 2 pairs of basketball shorts, and then my jeans, because that ain't going to get me the White House. You see people, and they talk about it in movies all the time. You'll see it, and there's like a gay dude who gets married to a girl just to have a wife, because that's what you need to have. You need to be a family man when you're running for a political position. So it's like, if you want to take some lessons from why white people are successful, then look at what they do. Look at what, and I say that it's like, if you're pointing fingers and saying white people are, but look at any successful person and look at what they did. You listen to, I forget his name, but what's the guy who started Fubu and the guy who's on Shark Tank?
Oh God, I know what you're talking about, but I don't know his name.
Listen to him when he tells somebody why he's not going to invest in their idea.
He breaks it down.
It has nothing to do with the idea or the product. It has to do with that person and how he doesn't see the dedication and full-time effort required to take that from here to here.
Right.
Because that's what he did. He didn't eat. He didn't have Jordans. He didn't have shirts that didn't have holes in them, because he wanted what he wanted, and he sold his stuff out of the back of a van. Look at Wu-Tang Clan. Not the most professional individuals, right? But they were hustling CDs out in the streets day and night and dumping every penny they had and not eating for days on end to make their dream come true.
Yeah.
So
Sean,
it's the work.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where, like you were saying, they gotta have that excuse, man. And the reason why they only highlight those very extreme positions they want you to aspire to is because that's gonna keep you remembering that it's hard to succeed. They don't want to highlight the more common ones, right? A lot of people like to point out these rich businesses, but yeah, small business is what's the backbone of the U.S. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
It's those doctors or those lawyers or those people that's running construction, that's doing welding. These are the people that's making the real money, the skills and trade. And they want you to focus on the ones where, like football, right? 1 million high school players across the U.S. You know how many people go to the draft every year? Like maybe, I don't know, a couple thousand. So it's like, you're not going to get nowhere near that. And your chances are very slim, but they want to keep that money. And they want you to make you seem like that you have no other option. And I think that's
And can I just add one quick thing to that?
Yeah.
How many dads do you know, right? So like, I'm Hispanic. You know what we do really well? We box really well. We play baseball really well. That's like our sports, right? But how many Black fathers and Hispanic fathers do you see that will spend hours out there on a free throw line or in a football field or in a boxing ring or on a baseball diamond trying to get their kid to be that NFL athlete, that MLB player, that star boxer, but won't sit there and spend 5 minutes on math homework?
Right.
They're taking them to something, like you pointed out, that is such a small percentage, right?
Yeah.
And pushing them because that's what they think. I want my son to make it, so he's going to be in the NBA. Not, I want my son to make it, so I'm going to ensure that his education is top priority so that he is qualified for any job, because all it takes is for him to slip and fall on a court or down the stairs or anything, and that whole dream that you had on that is gone, versus an education is forever. And that's the thing that we don't push on our kids, is the education.
I'm actually going to say a really short snippet. I know Topher's like, we have to move on to the next question, but really quickly, when I looked up the, there's like 2 different definitions, they're not different, but 2 different versions of the definition for racism. And it says the belief that different races possess distinct characteristics, abilities, or qualities, especially so as to distinguish them as inferior or superior to one another. So when we, as the Black community, feed to our own kind that white people are naturally more successful, we are literally being the definition of racism. Like that we are physically telling our own kind, oh yeah, they're superior to us. We are inferior to them. But then we will also turn around and say, oh, well, you're not better than me. Why? You're the one, no one said you were, like no one said you were lesser than. The only person feeding that narrative is you when you say, oh, well, it's easier for them to get a job. Well, you've now very clearly stated that you think that you are inferior to their ability to get that job, so just thought that was interesting. Okay.
Carry on.
No, that's good
right.
because that's a segue into the next question. My answer anyway.
Oh, wait. Oh, okay, sorry. So let's get to this last one, so we'll wrap it up. The big question, big elephant in the room. How can we put an end to white privilege? Like, we talk about it all the time. Is it one of those things where, Morgan Freeman says, just stop talking about it and it goes?
Yes.
Because I feel like, the biggest way to do it is just keep putting information out there. I think the more we highlight, the more we create transparency. I think it's so much attention on stuff that's not real. You know what I'm saying? Like we're saying, we highlight the extreme positions, but we don't show people that in everyday life. I know we was talking about redlining, but everyone's like, well, banks didn't loan to black people, like, right? If you look at black banks, they actually loan more to white people. So it's like, even your own black people didn't loan to you. So it's like, is it because you're black or is it because you just don't have stuff in order? And yes, I'm gonna go with the latter, because I guarantee you, if you come correct, and not only is your credit history right, but you got a stable job and you're doing things, people will loan you money. It's not a big thing. Right. It's all about your ability to pay them back, and they want to make sure that you're going to do that.
Right.
But people don't want to admit to that. But my thing is ending white privilege. Yeah, just stop talking about it. Let's create some awareness, and stop thinking someone's better than you. The moment you think someone's better than you simply because it's just like me, right? We praise people that go to the NBA that's like Nate Robinson. Like, we praise him. He's 5'9", playing with some 6'7" dudes and killing them. We highlight, we praise people that overcome those disadvantages, right? It's like that's the type of person I am. If I'm playing the NFL or NBA, I'm not finna sit here and complain about my height or my size. I'm gonna be like, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do the hard work, whatever it takes to get there, and call it a day. And I'm gonna feel good at the end of the day because I know I gave it my all, and I know I got it on my own. I wouldn't want white privilege. I tell people I wouldn't want white privilege. If white privilege is me getting something just because of my color of my skin, I wouldn't want that. Because no one values that. If it just comes off the whim, then there's no value in it, and people can take that away from it. Like, you could pass legislation and wipe away white privilege just like that, but you can't really pass the legislation and take away hard work and stuff that you earned. So I'm all about that. And but yeah, white privilege, man. What y'all think? How can we end it? We'll go with Greg first.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I've been biting at the bit about this all night, man. All right, so when I was in my 20s, right, in my early 20s, I was in the military. This is the first time, right, and those of you that's been in the military, you know for sure that light bulb goes off, right, where you see that skin color truly isn't. There's no blanket anything that goes across the board for any skin color, right, and so I came up with a quote that I used to write on inside all the latrines and stuff like that, and that is, racism will never go away until everybody lets go. So Morgan Freeman is 100% right. Stop talking about it. If you guys probably don't remember, and I was just a little kid at the time, but the McDonald's commercials, the Coca-Cola commercials, right? They were all about this unity of the human race, right? We all know the Coke song, where they're all singing the Coke song, and they're on the hilltop there. And the McDonald's commercials, same way, right? They show every color working side by side on a TV commercial in the early 70s, right? So all of that comes from this. And here's my trigger thing, and I open up with this with topics with people, and they get angry right off the bat. And here's my statement: get rid of diversity. Diversity is a cancer in this country, and let me tell you why. Because diversity is being pushed with the wrong definition. Diversity means, and yes, I'm going to Ross Perot you right now. Diversity means to divorce. Diversity means to divide, to turn away. That's what diversity, the root word of diversity, means: to divorce, divide, turn away, and compartmentalize. That's the hyphen that Sean was talking about, right? So, but they're not pushing this, the definition of it. They call it diversity, but when you try to force diversity and use the actual definition of university, which is where we should be, which means to marry, to unite, to add together. That's why colleges are called university, because there's many different types of study in one place. It's a university, right? It's not a diversity. Hey, let's pay tuition to go to diversity. No, it's a university. So when you understand the definition of university, but you're calling it diversity and you try to force diversity, what happens? The compartmentalizing, the scorekeeping right off the bat. Diversity is an evil in our society today. It's a mindset. It's a cult creator. Get rid of diversity. Friggin' exit out. Destroy it. Go back to university. University is to marry, right? Look, e pluribus unum. From the many one. One nation. Right?
Yeah.
Drop my mic.
Dude, I love seeing Greg get fired up.
I agree entirely. I mean, honestly, I feel like we all have to agree on it. Like, just stop talking about it. And in the sense of more so for me, if we're talking about, because I obviously, like, okay, stop talking, but it's a lot easier said than done. But at the same time, like, I think a lot of it is going to start with teaching self-worth in the home. I think a lot of this is about raising our youth today to stop thinking they're lesser than. And the sooner, like, and I know that there's a lot of people that were raised that way. They were raised that they have absolutely no future, and that sucks that you're Black and your life is just going to be mediocre because the white man's out to get you. So by the time that they're 30, they haven't even thought of the idea of being a lawyer. They haven't even thought of the idea of being a veterinarian or anything of that nature, because they were taught their entire life that that's just not in their cards. You know, they're unaware that there are programs that literally help people that don't have resources to go to college still attain those types of things. They don't even know about the scholarships they can apply for. And granted, that all comes back to how bad do you want it? Because if you want it that bad, you'll go do the research to find out, to be able to make that path for yourself. So personally, I think that a lot of it has to do with, we need to start teaching people, hey, you matter, you're worth something, and you have the ability to accomplish that. And if you do that, that plants the seed as a kid. All right, cool, I'm gonna do some shit. And then as they get older, they're gonna put in the time to be able to attain those things and accomplish those things and gain that education, get involved in school, be excited about something, including their future, instead of this uncool culture that's been created for younger Black kids. Oh, well, you know, I want to be a doctor. Well, then you've got, you know, his buddies next to him saying, dude, that's fucking stupid. You know, why would you want to be a doctor? You know what I mean? Like, it's not cool to want those types of jobs in the Black community as a younger kid. It's just not. So, you know, I feel like teaching them that they have that ability removes the victimhood mentality of, well, white people already stole the job, so why would I even try? You know, and I think that's going to be one of the biggest diffusers of white privilege, because if you teach kids from a young age that they have the same opportunities, there is no longer a privilege. It's, I can do that too. So how is that a privilege for him? You know, so that's 2 cents.
But I got a question. Like, I wonder if white people sit there and go, nah, I can't be a computer engineer because all the Indians have those jobs. You know what? Hey, Chad, stop trying to get ahead of math. You're not Asian. You're not Asian. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we'll sit there and be like, oh, you can't be a doctor. That's a white people job. Not really. Not really at all. In fact, most doctors are not white.
Yeah.
But like, and it's other races that generally, that's their job. Like, if you're Asian, you're going to be a doctor or an engineer. That's what you're going to do. And if you're a girl, you're going to be a nurse. Like, and that's like a thing. And comedians poke fun at that.
Right.
All the time. Asian comedians poke fun at that all the time. And it's like, but do you think that white people sit at home and tell their kids, no, honey, you can't be a doctor? That's not for you. That's Wong's job.
I like
No.
White Sean. I'm just gonna put that out there. I like White Sean.
Like that's my thing too. And like the other thing is that people are unrealistic. They're unrealistic. Like wake up and be realistic here. Yes, if we stop talking about it, it will go away. But you know what? Tell Sean to stop cussing. How long do you think it would take me to have a conversation and not cuss? How long do you think it would take me to change that behavior? So don't sit there and think that because we didn't talk about racism this year, it's going to go away next year. It's going to take time. All right. It's a generational thing that will happen, but it will eventually bring about the end of racism. And here's my thing, Topher, are you an American, dude?
I'm an American, 100% full-blooded.
America.
Kate, are you an American?
Yes.
Greg, are you an American?
Without a doubt.
I'm American as fuck. So all that we need to do is get away from all this other crap. You're American. We are all American. Every other country in the world got it right. I'm Afghan. I'm French. I'm Russian. I'm Polish. I'm German. Do you know how many different shades of color there are in those countries? Do you know how much differences in melanin levels there are in those countries? But you know what they don't do? What we do. And that's the problem. You're an American. You're an American. You have the same American privilege that every other American has. People
prior
in
to
hundreds,
pushing,
people in the tens of thousands every single day want to come to this country to have what you have the opportunity to do, but squander because you don't have work ethic.
Yep.
Because you don't go seize it. But they will come here. And they will. And that's one of the biggest things I love on TikTok is you hear these people with accents. I love it.
Oh, yeah.
But just wait though.
You'd be like, you're an African American because you were born in Africa and you know what it is to come here and see how great everyone has it and really just like blow your mind at what these people are complaining about. When you come from Venezuela or from Cuba and you talk about communism and Marxism and socialism and what you went through and come to this country and hear people here crying about they think that's good because they don't know what they have. This is the United States of America. We're all American, and just be realistic and be an American. Don't be an African American. Don't be a Jamaican American. Don't be a Peruvian American, a Puerto Rican, or Dominican American, a Cuban American, a Mexican American. Don't be a freaking white. We have that. White people. How many white people are there? There's none, right? They're all white. They're just white. Every one of them comes from the mountains of Caucasus. No, there are so many different countries and cultures, but they're not British American. They're not Irish American. They're not Italian American. They're not Russian American. We just call them all white people. They could sit there and spout off 7 different races they are. Now you're white. Shut up, you're white.
Until you present the whole discussion of, okay, if you really don't like it, then leave. Well, I'm an American, so I'm allowed to stay here. Really? Because this whole time you've been telling me that you're something different. But then when it comes to the concept of invoking the American right and the American privilege, now we're all American.
Right. When we were all kids, when we were all kids, it was a thing of pride, and you heard it all the time about being a melting pot, right? These different cultures, these different races coming to America and become American. They still respect their heritage. They still understand where they come from, and they're proud of that fact, but they knew it was more important that they had to become an American, because American didn't mean white, black, brown, red, yellow. It didn't mean that. It meant a new type of country where we, the people, were one. We melted into one mold called American, but then we started pushing diversity, and then it went from being a melting pot to a tossed salad. Well, I got another term for tossed salad, and it pisses me off that we're going that direction, that's for sure.
You know, you bring up a good point, Greg. There was a video, and he was a black guy, and he was talking about when he was a kid, what the American flag meant to him and what it symbolized. But now he feels like it means something different because only a certain group of people are flying that American flag everywhere they go. Only these people who support Trump are flying this American flag over here. Only Republicans. He's like, when did the American flag become for only these people? And it was like, when you people, and I'm not saying black people, I'm saying you over here in this direction, left, decided to start hating America, that's when it became these people. Because someone find me a conservative in America who's not a patriot, who's not patriotic, who doesn't love his country. Right now, I can give you like my address book. My whole family hates America, fucking, and they're all liberal Democrats. They're all liberal Democrats. You should see Christmas at my house. It's great. It's a good thing I'm big because none of my cousins will fight me. But like,
Hey, I feel you, man. I feel you.
And it's because people started hating America. People started hating the flag. Like, the flag is a symbol. If you think our country is jacked up, Kaepernick, okay. But don't sit there and protest the flag and the anthem, because the flag itself is a symbol that this country can change. The flag itself is a symbol that you are free today, and there's not a different flag waving because they lost. So it is a symbol of how perfect the country can be, because it can always change. And you're protesting that. You are sitting there and disrespecting that. Respect that flag, own that flag. Why don't you talk about what that flag means and why you want to bring a change, and how that flag represents that change you want to bring, instead of sitting there and taking a knee.
Yeah, I was gonna
Stop
say,
hating the flag.
Yeah, no, you. Yeah, the whole Kaepernick situation. He's a millionaire complaining about oppression.
And I'm almost 92%.
Why is it always the rich people on TV, the news anchors that get paid millions of dollars, telling us that we can't do stuff in America because we're black?
I can tell you why, because they monetize off of your idolization of them when they tell you that you can't succeed. Oh my goodness gracious. Sorry, carry on. Yeah.
Topher, who's that guy who hosts the Daily Show now?
Oh, I hate
I hate him too.
I don't know.
He talks about black people all the time. Well, where's the black people talking about him? Because he's got the whitest accent I've ever heard. He's British. Anyway.
Trevor Noah.
Yes, Noah.
Let Topher finish. You never let Topher finish. Don't finish.
Well, because it was what Topher said about Morgan Freeman. He interviewed Morgan Freeman.
All I'm saying is, I'm wrapping it up because we've got to close the show. We're going to an hour and 20 minutes. What I'm saying is, yeah, it's crazy to me. And this is one of the things, I don't know if you've seen the Uncle Tom film or not. If you haven't, I encourage you to do so. Very well put together documentary. Has some of my greatest people on there. We talk about the black conservative movement, but it just shows like Jesse Lee Peterson. I gained a whole new respect for him because I did not know he was right hand in hand marching and working with Jesse Jackson. And the reason why he became a conservative, because he realized the bullcrap Jesse Jackson was talking about. He was out there with his afro talking about, we can't do this, we can't do that. And he realized he got all this money. Jesse Jackson had his money and doing all these other things and telling people they can't do something. And eventually he was just like, I don't know how we can't do this when there's obviously examples of people succeeding. And this is why I feel like as black conservatives, we get maligned, because we're the people that actually go out and get it. And the system works when you operate the system. And they can't have us out here showing success, because that means everything they're talking about, it means nothing. And it becomes void. So that's why they don't like us. And then that's why they had to come up with things like white privilege or anything advantage, right? That's why they tell us we act white. They want to separate success from the black community so much. I have no idea why. I have no ungodly reason why they want to do that. And I'm gonna blame those race baiters, and I'm gonna blame some of those extreme white liberals that's out here just pacifying this and appeasing. No, stop doing that. We're not kids, and that's why I'm glad the Blexit movement is happening. I'm glad the Lexit movement is happening. I'm glad people are out here really educating people on the laws and policies. And like you said, Kate, start teaching people what they can do, not what they can't do. Trust me, you're gonna find out real fast what you can't do. You ain't gotta teach somebody that. I know I can't fly. My mom didn't tell me I couldn't fly. I went out there and tried to jump and I fell flat on my face. Found out real fast I could fly like a bird. You ain't have to teach me that, but you might want to teach me that if I go build a plane, I can soar just like the birds up into the sky. Those are the things we need to be doing. We need to teach people what they can do and all the advantages we do have. Like, instead of saying, well, you're Black and American because of slavery back in the day, you could be like, well, slavery has been abolished for such and such time. Jim Crow laws, all that's been gone, civil rights. Actually, you can go to any school you want to. All you got to do is just pass this test or score this high, and you're good to go. That's what I focus on. A lot of people's like, why do you focus like that, Toph? Do you just ignore the plight of the Black people? So I don't ignore it. I just don't use it as a crutch. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
once I realized that I was in control of my success, once you realize that,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no other excuse. It was like, oh, I can do what I want. I mean, we have people like Tyler Perry living on the streets, becoming a billionaire only in the biggest studios because Hollywood didn't want to give him a handout. Hollywood wouldn't put up his movies. So he said, you know what? I just create my own studios and put out my own movies. And that's what he did. Same thing with Steve Harvey. Homeless. Look at Steve Harvey now. It's just like one of those things, like, at some point we got to realize if homeless people from all walks of life can come to America and succeed, become billionaires and millionaires, isn't there advantages to where we live? You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to me. White privilege does not exist. White privilege does not exist. And I would never acknowledge. I would not feed the monster. It's dead. We're shooting the monster. It dies today. So if you watch this, know that
White privilege is dead. We've undecided.
What was that? What was another? Man, there was another phrase they used to say on South Park. Something is dead. Oh man. Oh, chivalry. Yeah.
Chivalry is dead.
White privilege died. Well, hopefully we bring back chivalry. I think that's a really awesome thing. You know what I'm saying? But definitely white privilege is dead. We'll go ahead and dead that. But we gotta go, guys. Hopefully you learned something. We try to leave stuff with you all, and once again, we're gonna leave stuff in the description for you to follow up on. Try to look at some of the studies. I talked about the banks lending more to the white people, and then Black banks lending more to white people than Black banks. Black people, so I'm gonna try to link that in the description. So anything we talked about is the articles. We're gonna try to link that down there for you guys, so you can learn a little bit and know what's going on for us. But
Can I link something real quick? Look up Abraham Lincoln's House Divided speech and read that thing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Because we keep hearing the other house divided, right? This house is on fire and the fire department come. One guy was like, actually, we spray like all the houses because in case the fire spread, the other ones are wet already, prevent that from.
Oh my God.
So he's like, technically, we spray all the houses. So even your analogy is just wrong, technically incorrect. I was like, yeah, I figured that. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in. Greg, Sean, Kate, y'all are the best. Make sure you follow each one of us on TikTok, on our social media, visit our websites. And like I said, we'll be back next week. What we talk about next week, everybody?
Injustice Within.
I was like, I don't know.
Injustice Within. It's going to be a great topic. So we look forward to it. Make sure y'all hit that like, share, and subscribe button. And we'll catch y'all next time.